Hey everyone, it's Steven from Tostemac, and welcome to another Tostemac podcast. On these podcasts, we talk about all kinds of things, whether it be something in my past experience, something that's going on with the world, or chatting with a friend, or talking about something new that's being introduced. So today is a special podcast for me because not only is this individual creating sensory toys for the special needs community, he's also an old friend of mine from college. So I'd like to welcome to the podcast, David Donaldson. Hey, David.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, it's good to see you. Now, I have a list of questions prepared, but first things first, it has been a long time since we've seen each other, not since college, I believe.
Actually, yeah, and then we also went to high school together.
Oh, that's right. Old Mill High School. There are a lot of good memories there. Actually, is Old Mill High School still there anymore?
Yeah, they renovated a little bit.
Ah, okay. Because I heard from another friend, Billy, that they were changing some of the things there, and I was wondering whether I was still there. I heard they did like a high school reunion at one point, but me and Billy decided not to go because we were attending a heavy metal concert around that time. And honestly, I'd be amazed if many people showed up during that reunion. That was a long time ago. Did you end up going?
No, I ended up not going. It was okay. Like that, I actually didn't get any invite, but that's cool.
Ah, yeah, I didn't get an invite either, surprisingly. I think the only one out of us that heard about it was Billy, and maybe he heard about it from like a friend or two because there were a lot of people back in high school. I remember during lunchtime, I think it was like with the junior and senior years, there was this lunch table where all of us would gather, talk about like classes, all kinds of plans and ideas. Like I know Billy was planning like a web series, kind of like Red versus Blue. We just never really got off the ground, but it was fun to talk about nonetheless.
Yeah, and I still talk to Billy occasionally.
Yeah, yeah. And there was one thing that Billy wanted to do during high school where he wanted me and a few of us to each have our own flag of different countries and kind of run down the cafeteria going crazy, saying things from like different countries. And it almost worked, but the only thing was like we couldn't get the actual flags in time. So what we did was we took pieces of paper and did like doodle sketches of the countries. Then when we ran down the hallway, we were say things like, yeah, America, the God save the Queen, I want my tea, all that stuff. Nobody really knew what we were doing because they couldn't really see the arts that we made on the paper. Like they were like a standard notebook size paper. So they just thought we were just running around acting crazy. Now, the supervisors in the cafeteria didn't take too kindly to that, but it was the senior year, so we weren't really going to care that much. And I'm not sure. Do you remember back in Anne Arundel Community College where they had that gaming club?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a funny story about that too. There was one time where me and my friend Sean were going to the gaming club for the first time, and we were going to this annex building, and we were trying to figure out where the gaming club is. So we enter this room, like me and Sean were asking if this is the game room. Then everyone, I kid you not, everybody turns to us and they unanimously shout, "Sign it!" And they all point to the signing sheet. And I was like, okay. So I just slowly go in there, just sign my signature on there. One of them goes, "Now your soul belongs to us." Which, by the way, I still haven't got my soul back. I'm pretty sure I should have read the fine print in the contract.
Yeah, we did Japanese club too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Japanese club was actually big at Anne Arundel Community College. And in fact, I think there was one point where they actually planned to go to Japan at one point. Did they ever get around to that?
Yeah, actually they did. John, who was the president of Japanese club, organized that and the fundraiser. He did a collaborative fundraiser with my club, which I was president of philosophy club.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Yeah, like I got the invite as well, but like I saw the plane ticket to Japan was around like 2 grand. And considering I was like a college student who was probably like a floor clerk at the time, making like 7.25 an hour, I was like, that wasn't gonna happen. Because like it was 2 grand just for the plane tickets, not taking into consideration like other expenses. So I didn't think I was gonna be going to that trip. I would have liked to go, but I couldn't. Did you get to go?
No, but I actually went to Japan in anime club back in high school.
Oh, nice. And how was it?
It was awesome. I went with Mr. Blondell from photography club because photography club and Japan or anime club were together.
Oh, oh.
And
That's
so yeah, we combined clubs and we went on this trip together. And we got to go to what was it, Kyoto, Osaka, Tokyo, and I think one other place, but I forget.
wow. So you went all over the place. Like I remember there was this documentary series by James May on Amazon. I think it's still on Amazon Prime, where he was traveling different parts of Japan. And it's a real eye opener to see all the kinds of things out there. There are some that are very historic and ancient, and there's some that's like modern and high tech. So, of all the places in Japan, what place did you like the most?
Ninjaro Castle, which was where they trained ninjas, actually
Oh,
had an antique security system, which is these floorboards would have like a hinge between them. And as you walk on it, it squeaks. And they said if you can walk across it without squeaking, you're a ninja. So Mr. Blondell gets up on his hind legs, and you know he's a big guy.
yeah.
He starts to walk, and he goes, "I'm a ninja!" And he starts to creak, and like, and he just starts walking across. It was great. I got to the top of the castle, and they had these coins, and the coins you can actually put some money in the vending machine. You get this coin. It's like a little gold-plated coin, but it
Uh-huh.
has the castle that you visited, and they have one from each castle.
Wow, that's awesome. Man, I would have given anything till I have a video recording of a high school teacher doing something like that. I'm sure most high school students would love the idea of doing that at some point, considering. I mean, did anyone record him doing it, or were they just watching and having a bag of popcorn?
We were just watching because we didn't have any like thing to record with other than we had they had digital cameras, but they didn't allow photography in the castle
Ah,
because
well, that's understandable.
some of the things are antiques and they don't want to have photosensitivity to them or something. I'm not sure. It's still fun. Also, Odawara Castle was fun. They told the story about how I think it was Odawara that they had a party outside the siege. There was a siege, and they said, "Okay, if you guys want, we're going to throw a party. If you join us, you live. If you don't, we're storming the castle in the daytime when the sunrise, when the sun
Well,
hit."
well, with such an invitation, how could you possibly pass up, right?
Yeah, so people snuck out of the castle to join the party, and those who didn't were slaughtered when they came in, like when they all sieged the castle.
Well, that's a nice way of letting people know, hey, we're gonna storm this castle. If you don't want to get slaughtered, come join this party.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, there was a lot of good memories. But getting back on track, there's actually been a lot that's been going on since high school and college. Like after the school time, what have you gotten into?
Well, I got my degree. I actually went to UMBC after AACC, and I got my degree, my minor, and my major in applied linguistics and anthropology.
Oh, nice. What made you go that route?
I've always loved language, and I seem to excel in learning languages. So I liked it enough that I thought maybe I can study them. And it's really nice because some of the things I've learned have helped me with my current job. And then some of the things I've learned have helped me understand people better.
Okay, so it's something you're passionate about, not just like something for the sake of getting a high paying job or something like that.
Yeah, even though that could have been a route I could have taken, but I would have to study other languages besides German and Spanish and American Sign Language.
Yeah, I can understand the challenge there. Like I remember taking some Spanish classes, and while I had a good time, while I had an easy time pronouncing what words and sentences to say, I wasn't really a good listener. In fact, some could say I'm not really a good listener when it comes to English either. So there's a problem right there. But it's like, in my opinion, learning different languages is like learning how to play the piano. If you don't use it, you lose it. So do you find yourself using that education on a frequent basis in your job?
Yeah, sometimes with Spanish because I'll be sitting with a patient and they can't get an interpreter. So instead of me interpreting with them, I just calm them down because part of my job is to sit with patients, keep them calm, and also kind of be an advocate for them. So if they're speaking Spanish and they say I need to go to the bathroom, and I tell the nurse, hey, they have to go to the bathroom, then if they're not allowed up, I'm there. I tell them what they said so that they don't have to call somebody every time they need an interpreter, which is nice because they feel like they're being heard and they also feel like there's an understanding.
Nice, nice. So, how long you been working with this job now?
About 3 years, but I've been with the organization for 6 years.
Cool, cool. So you got a lot of track record. Now, from what I understand, during your time with this job, you started to work on something else, like your own business, if you will. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So what happened was during the COVID pandemic, I started to notice that there was a large increase in the number of mental health cases, especially in the pediatrics unit, but also for people suffering from spectrum or not, what was it? Not suffering, but like, you know what I mean? Living with
Living
spectrum.
with?
Yeah. I was thinking of not spectrum disorders, but suffering from mental health disorders, because some people do suffer with those, but
And
people
considering
living with,
with the pandemic, I'd imagine that be even more so because, like, human beings in nature are social creatures. We like interacting with each other, whether we may admit it or not. But with this pandemic, it presented a certain challenge that we didn't have to deal with in over 100 years. So not certainly not in our lifetime. So we're not really used to being forced to isolate that much. And for those with mental disabilities or developmental disabilities, it could be even more of a challenge.
Mhm. That, and then also another theory that was pointed out by a colleague of mine was that some of the issues might have gone unnoticed because the parents were working so much. And when they work so much, they don't get to interact with their children as much. And so once they have to stay home, they're forced to kind of turn and look at their life and look at their dynamic and their situation, their relationships. And when they realize those relationships have communication breakdowns, they start to realize, why is this happening? And maybe we need to get some help.
Right.
So, oh, you,
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so in the process of learning more about the pandemic and the mental health crisis that was going on, I noticed that there was a need for stress relief. And I thought about like people with anxiety, people with depression, but also people who just have general anxiety because of different disorders or their mental condition and things like that. And so I thought maybe there was a way to help.
All right, cool. And that's actually a pretty good marketing strategy, like figuring out what the need is for, what you can offer, and like how to make a profit from it. So what do you make for those in need? What do you do for this business you're starting?
So right now, what I do is I provide cheaper alternatives to not cheaper in quality, but cheaper in price
Right.
for people who need stress relief, because a lot of the stress relief toys are marked up really high. And when I saw that, because I actually went to a couple different websites, I'm not going to mention which ones, but I went to them and they were catering towards that market for people with spectrum disorders and people with different mental needs. And they were charging like $100, $200 just for like a blanket, like a weighted blanket.
100 to 200 for just one blanket?
Yeah.
Holy
A weighted
crud.
blanket.
I mean, what does it do? Does it have like Wi-Fi built in it? Does it have like a heating feature or cooling feature built inside? How can a blanket cost 100 to 200?
I don't know, but then also some of the other things like just simple fidget toys or educational games were marked up $60, $70. And I thought maybe there's got to be a better way of find go directly to the supplier.
God, that's crazy. I mean, I know in recent years that fidget toys and sensory toys have been more in demand in recent years, but I just have a hard time imagining paying like $60 for just one fidget or sensory toy. Like depending on what is in question, it kind of feels like extortion in a way. Like people are paying this ridiculous amount for something that should only cost maybe 10 or 15 at most.
Exactly. And that's the problem that I was finding. Like people wanted to buy something, and then you go on Amazon, there's a million people offering the same thing, but everything they're offering is like $20, 30 bucks.
For
And
something that's probably $5.
that, and then I also noticed that with my competitors that they're cheap and they'll break. Like poppets would break inwards. They would pop the bubble literally and
Oh,
break. And that'd be dangerous for if they were to put it in their mouth. If anybody puts it in their mouth, it'd be dangerous.
right, exactly.
So that, and then also just noticing this trend that other people were charging such high amounts. I thought maybe I can charge less, but have a better message, like an actual purpose. And I can reach people, not just for the business, but for themselves, like to help them.
Yeah, you mentioned just now having a message to get out there. So, for those that are listening or watching this podcast, what is that message?
Well, for those suffering from mental health disorders or issues, it's not something to be stigmatized. You kind of got to realize other people go through that same thing, and it's okay to ask for help. So I actually have on my social media accounts, I post the National Suicide Hotline as
Oh,
a
nice.
reference for people who are suffering from mental health, because the toys that I do make are supposed to make people happy or give them some kind of comfort. And so for the toys that I make, I don't want them to be holding them crying. I want them to be holding them laughing or smiling. So if there's any way I can help give back, it's better for them, And then also, I have on the website how people can give back. And the important thing is you can donate your time, like donating your time to a hospital, because we have volunteers that work with the pediatrics unit, and they can help children who are going through a rough time right now. So even if you are in a good place with your mental health, but you weren't at one point, you can help somebody else who might need that kind of help. Same thing with if you feel you've, you know, matured or made a bigger difference in your life than you did when you were like 5 years ago. You can still help people.
Nice. So it's like you're not just providing products, but you're also like providing resources for the customers to look into to help with whatever they're dealing with, whether it be suicide prevention or mental health. So it's pretty awesome that you're providing all these things for the customers, because it kind of tells them in a way that you're not just doing this for the sake of making money or a profit, but rather you're doing this in order to help out a community and have them leave better for it.
Yeah, and then also at cost, I make donations to the local pediatrics hospital, like to the hospital's pediatrics unit.
Nice, nice.
And then
So,
eventually, with other people that work with other hospitals, I plan to donate to other hospitals as well.
awesome. So we've been talking a bit about the business, but what's the name of the business and what kind of products do you offer?
So the name of the business is Tiny Dragons Treasure Trove. And I thought it was like a cute idea to have tiny dragons because I love dragons.
Who
And
doesn't love dragons? I mean, they're awesome.
and so Tiny Dragons Treasure Trove, because the trove is kind of something that you hold on to. It's your treasure. And the treasure is not just the toys, but the message. So I want people to know, that there's help, that you can not be stigmatized, that you can ask for help, you can give your time and all these things, but also, it's a great place to get some discount toys and also our custom toys that we make.
Nice. And speaking of custom toys, I actually took a look at your website and I saw all kinds of products. In fact, I got one of them from you earlier. Let me go get it real quick. Hold on. Here it is. So one of the products that you have that I really like is this fidget ring. I'm going to try to zoom in on that, kind of focus on this a little bit. So what this is it's a ring, but there's this chain that you kind of move back and forth. It's a simplistic idea, but it's like really effective. Like it really helps when someone needs to stim, and it looks pretty fancy too. Like I can imagine wearing this to like maybe a fundraising event or a professional job interview. So I really like this design, and I think it's only like what, $15, give or take?
So we actually have on our test website discount running right now. So if you buy more than one, it decreases the percentage off, or increases the percentage off, but decreases the price.
Oh, darn, I should have waited for the deal.
Well, you could have bought more than one. And
Well, true.
I think you did buy through the test website, because I haven't
Yeah.
gotten any actual orders from my main website. But on the main website, because I noticed that some of those rings, like the one you're wearing, are kind of bulky. So for women who have smaller hands, or even men that have smaller hands, they can't always wear those rings. So I actually offer on my main website smaller rings that
Yeah, I
are.
also noticed on the site, like you have like different options in terms of like the color of the ring itself, the color of the chain, and also like different ring sizes as well.
Mhm. And then for the ones that are offered or marketed more towards women or anyone that wants something that looks that way, with hearts, cats, or I don't know. I get the cat one. I like cats. So it's not just women, it's anybody that wants it, but anyone who has a smaller hand. Um, it it's kind of nice because they're the kind of the silverish ones, but they also come in, I think, another color like gold. But I offer different varieties. So it's not just that. Like there's one with three balls that move around on
Oh,
a
nice.
on like a twisted metal, like a kind of fancy curled metal. And so you can play with the balls, like move them back and forth instead of the chain.
Cool. That's pretty awesome. Now, aside from the fidget rings, there's actually several other products you have as well. And one of them, a couple things you told me about, like involving dragons. I'm not sure whether or not we can talk about this yet, or maybe you already announced it.
So I have announced that I am taking pre-orders right now.
Oh, sweet.
And so some of them look like this.
Whoa.
And this one represents mystery or shadow, depending on what connotation someone likes better. And it's really cute. And I actually asked in the social media pages if anybody would like to name them. And if we vote on a name, I would stick with the name. Right now, they're each in the tiny dragon category, but they're actually not that tiny. But Tiny Dragon is the name of the company, so it works out. I mean, it's the size of my head, so.
Nice.
And a couple people want to buy it, but I haven't gotten any pre-orders yet. Right now, the pre-orders are 25, but once they come out, they'll be about 35. But they'll also come with like an egg.
They'll also come with an egg, like
So the,
something to put them in, or
like they'll hatch out of an egg that will either be made of fabric or plastic, and they'll be sitting in the egg as long as I'm able to get the manufacturer for it.
wow, awesome. That's pretty cool. So what was the thought process behind making this? Because I'm looking at that dragon, and maybe you can show like the front and back again because I was kind of talking over it. Um, I noticed that oh, sorry, let me stop talking so you can see it.
Oh, you can talk. He's got cute little feet and a little club tail.
Cool.
And actually
So
sits.
so what was the thought process behind making this? Because like I'm looking at this dragon, it's really cute, it's really awesome, and I'm also noticing possibly different textures on them, like maybe the horns are made of one fabric and like the scales and the belly are made of other fabrics.
So the whole thing is plush fabric, but it's nice because the horns are a little bit softer, and all this is actually stitched in, so it's not like it's gonna fall off.
Oh,
And
nice.
the whole thing is pretty well made, and I was excited when I got my hands on it, and I've actually ordered samples of the other two dragons to be made because there are right now three.
Nice. So the other two dragons, I believe they're like a water dragon and a wind dragon, I believe.
Water dragon and then a leaf dragon, kind of like forest or representing forest or foliage or plants.
Oh, okay. Nice, nice. So so the next question I have in mind is that product looks awesome. And as you may know, there are so many sensory toys out there, like fidget spinners or the little rubber sheets where they poke holes, or maybe like stress balls. So, what is it about your sensory toys that, oh, there we go. What is it about your sensory toys that separates yours from the competition?
So right now, what separates my toys is not only the price, but also that I have a direct relationship with my manufacturers. So if I say to them, hey, can we work on this together? And I'll design the idea and they'll make it happen. And it's kind of nice having manufacturing partners that you can do that with. And so, like, if there's a custom design poppet toy that you want a certain shape that you can email me about, and I can order it, and I can order like a certain number of them. And if it sells great, then, I can always put it on my website. But if it doesn't sell, they get donated. And that's a win-win.
Nice. That's actually pretty resourceful. And it's very nice having someone to help you make these products. And like you said, best case scenario, if they sell really well, you can post them on the website. Or worst case scenario, if they don't, you can donate them to organizations or facilities, which I actually honestly haven't really thought of much before. Because like I've actually published a couple of books, and to be honest, it's been quite a while since I sold one or two of them. So I'm actually thinking about maybe donating some of my books to nearby organizations and see where it goes from there. But yeah, like you said, that definitely sounds like a win-win for you. Now, with this partnership with the manufacturers, um, how how long would it take to get products ready from like the initial sketch design to actually making it to getting it out there?
So it's a kind of a long process. This one has taken a pretty good amount of time. And it's also taking, like, we have to negotiate. We have to meet somewhere in the middle with our prices. They can't sacrifice quality, and I can't sacrifice, too much money.
Right,
Because
that's understandable.
I still work full time for the hospital, but part of the money is going into this business. And that's why I'm trying to get some crowdfunding, kind of like pre-orders for these dragons. Because once I reach a certain number of sales, which is about 100 to about maybe 62 sales, if I get to at least that number, I can actually order them and have them shipped out to everybody who ordered.
Okay, that sounds great because like one of the things I was thinking about, like we mentioned, like best case scenario if they work, but also like in the worst case scenario where you donate the products, like how big of a loss of profit is that? But like when you're having crowdfunding, that I think that does help with kind of compensating for that possible loss if it happens. Does it work like that, or
Yeah. And then also, what people don't really think about is with a business, you can claim a lot on taxes that you lose.
you can claim a lot on taxes? Like you can claim donations on taxes, or
Yep. You can claim donations on taxes, and then you can also claim um, business expenses. So any expense incurred by the business, which includes purchasing the products
huh.
and also research and development and things like that. So for me, I have to pay contractors for the research and development. So I say, hey, this is like, I have an artist I work for, and she did this, and she is really good. And so I'm going back to her for all my needs for artistic designs. But I give her dragon images and I say, I want something like this, but cute. And I want it to look like this. And I want it to bring these feelings or these emotions, for a child. So I told her I want it to look like he's hugging you. I want it to look like he's happy to see you, but I want it to look childlike in the happiness. So she added the little tooth. And so it
Nice.
kind of relates with people because you can have a child that's teething or that has a tooth growing in, just like this little dragon. And then he's ready to hug and he sits like this and it works out. So,
So it's not just like artistically cute, but it's also very smart in terms of like how the dragon is designed, like that one tooth sticking out. And there's also like having it in a sitting position and ready for a hug. So I could tell there was a lot that went into the design of it, not just like the color schemes and the appearance, but also what that plushie is doing. So that's really smart.
yeah. And then so I go to her and I say, hey, can we work together on this? And she gives me a group deal, like a bulk deal for the designs. And once I get all the designs together, they're high enough quality that I can send them to be printed out by my manufacturing partners. And the manufacturing partners work with me and say, what kind of fabric do you want? How big do you want it? And we work together to get the right dimensions and the right aspect of it. So, like, what colors I want to use and whether or not I'm negotiable on different things with the designs. And then they design it and they show me a sample and then they ship me the sample after I pay for the sample.
Okay, so you still pay for the sample.
Yeah.
So, in terms of like getting the products to the customers, is this just in the United States, or are you planning to sell these products worldwide? Or
So the markets that we're doing right now, because the US already has a lot of competition, but I figure because I know people that live in other countries, like I have a friend in New Zealand and then I have a friend in Great Britain. I figure people suffer from this pandemic all over the place. So why not help out other people? So we're targeting right now for marketing Great Britain, New Zealand, Australia, and Canada.
nice networking.
And then with my German, we plan to target Germany. And then with my Spanish, also Spain.
Nice, awesome. That's pretty cool. So, um, So in terms of like your products, have you had, and I think you may have answered this before already, have you had so many sales so far? Has the business been going well?
So far, those fidget rings, like the one you um, have been selling really well. And then right now, we're doing pre-orders for Moon Knight pop toys.
Oh, Pop Toys, nice, cool. So let's see. Just pulling up the list of questions. Ah, here it is. So, what is the what is the goal for your business, for your sensory toys? Like, do you have just a single goal, or do you have like short-term goals and long-term goals to meet?
Short-term goal right now is to get enough money to get these off the ground because they're going to be like our flagship product.
Okay.
And long-term goal is hopefully to become a reliable supplier for the pediatrics department for their needs, not just donations, but like if they have kind of like a crowd fund or not crowd fund, but like a fundraiser for different things because they have a child life specialist and she has a department for child life. They can raise money if they needed to and buy things for the kids, not just the toys, but like if they needed more things like books or educational toys, which I hope to sell too, but like games and stuff.
Nice. Long-term goal can be pretty difficult down the road. Like, I don't know too much about business, but I do know that when more people like your stuff, there's this increase for demand. There's also like an increase in the need for the productivity. So, what one obstacle that you may face later on is that as more and more people want your products, there is this going to be this increase for demand and this increase for more products. So, have you thought about what you're going to do in terms of prices? Because I know from experience in the retail store that usually when there's a high demand for a product and a low amount for a product, usually the price goes up. Do you see that as like a possibility in the future, or do you want to keep the price rate steady throughout?
So, true to what I said before about being reasonable with prices, I don't want to raise my prices too much. The only reason that these are 25 right now is because I need to get off the ground with them. And once I get off the ground with them and I have a larger supply order, I can raise it to 35, but it's not going to go too much higher. It's going to be like 34.99. And I don't foresee it going up any higher because that would be just greedy and it would make no sense. I mean, I know I'm running a business here, but it's not a nonprofit, but it could be for for all I care, I could turn it into a nonprofit one day.
All right, that's awesome to hear. I mean, I just figured I'd ask that question because I feel like that question is going to pop up like at some point. Like, if not in the comments section of this podcast, then maybe like later on down the road when people discover your business for the first time. So I'd figured I'd ask that question, and it sounds like you got a plan already set.
Hmm. And hopefully I can help more people with the business. And that was kind of the goal because when I read this book that was really helpful about starting business, it said try and find a problem and offer a solution. And I saw the problem was all over the world. It's this pandemic and it's the mental health crisis. And that could be a problem because anxiety is a common thing for everyone.
Yeah, I
And
think even after the pandemic, the anxiety and the mental health problems are still going to be an issue because my mom and I were talking about how the pandemic has affected the world, and what we what we agreed upon is that things are not going to go all the way back to normal. Like, there's going to be this new norm. There's going to be this, oh, hold on. Sorry, I just saw a cat in your
yes,
shot. Sorry.
Mark.
Um, so I think what's going to happen is there is going to be this new norm set. So I feel like even after this pandemic is officially over, there's still going to be the issues to deal with in terms of anxieties and mental health problems and challenges with developmental disability. So I feel like there's still going to be a need for the products you offer even after this pandemic's over.
Yeah, because anxiety doesn't go away, and it's always going to be there, like something that people need. And even as, stress toys fade out of popularity, it's still going to be something I offer because even though it's not popular, it's something that's necessary.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's actually a really good business strategy in terms of like going for something that's not just popular, but also something that's maybe necessary or maybe useful. Because like if you can go for like if you're going for like good, sorry, let me get my words right, because I remember hearing this kind of recommendation from like one of the nostalgia critic episodes. um if you can be both good and popular, great. But if you have to choose between one of the two, always choose good over popular, because the problem is when people focus on things that are popular, they eventually fade away, and sooner or later there's not going to be a use for something that was once popular but not anymore. But when you do something that's good, something that's very useful for people, then they're still going to stick around because ultimately people want them and people need them regardless of what's popular and what's not.
Exactly. And I always want to do something good. I want to have a business that's known for doing something good. And even if I went out of business, I still had fun doing it, you know?
Yeah, like whatever lies in the future for your business, you can say that you made an effort, you made your presence known, and you left something for people to remember you by. Now, to my next question, it's you really put a lot of effort and passion into this business, I can tell. So, how has this business changed your life?
Well, so far I've had to think about things more often, like how I'm going to market something. And I started bringing the dragon with me to work, which is kind of funny. It sits on the desk when I'm at work, and I
I can
wait.
imagine like a post on Facebook and Instagram, like just another day of work with my pal.
Well, people walk by and they ask, and I especially bring it when I go to Peds, which is the initials for pediatrics. So we go when I go to Peds, I set it right on my desk, which is the computer we have. And if a parent walks by and they notice it, or somebody walks by and they notice it, I bring business cards. I recommend different stress toys and stuff. No matter what their kid's there for, everyone loves toys. And
Okay, cool.
if
And your
it's
bosses are okay with this?
Yeah, so far, it's not like I'm causing any trouble, and I'm not doing anything that is a problem. And plus, I'm donating to the actual hospital. So I plan to donate more. Like if, say, I only sell like 100 of these, but I ordered 300, I might donate some of them.
Yeah. So, in a way, the products can also serve as like business cards in a way. I mean, not to sound too methodical or like thinking about profits and whatnot, but having the products out there lets people know that you're here and you offer this stuff.
Exactly. And with having artists that I know make the actual designs and then having it created, I'm not copying anybody else. I'm being unique. And if they Google it or take a picture of it, it pops up with my company. It only comes with my company. So there's nobody else offering these things.
And that's probably one of the biggest challenges in terms of like offering products to the world is like, how do you, and you've already answered this earlier, how do you separate your stuff from the rest. And that's very important for not just for standing out from the rest of the crowd, but also for like legal and copyright issues. Cause I know like that's a big thing in terms of like selling products. Cause they're for like mobile games, for example, there are some mobile games that clearly look like Pokemon, but they have this different name slapped on it. Like it looked like they didn't do anything different to it. They didn't change anything to make it stand out. They just had Pokemon stuff on it and just slapped a different title on it. And I just think to myself, somebody's getting sued. So that's definitely a big challenge in terms of like marketing and business to make sure that it doesn't look like you're copycatting someone else so that they don't go after you with legal charges. But it looks like you've already got that figured that out. No, already got it figured out. So that's good on you.
That's something that's been a problem navigating, because I think I told you about the original idea for these dragons were that they were going to be reversible, but that product has a licensing.
Yeah, because I've actually noticed on like a few commercials where they had these products where they start out as one thing and then you could transform it into another. So I could definitely imagine like possible legal issues from there.
But with a dragon hatching out of an egg, you can't copyright that because dragons have hatched out of eggs since, prehistory, like the like for recorded
I mean,
history.
that's a valid point.
Yeah, it's like, well, what are you copywriting a animal popping out of an egg? You gotta go talk to that chicken then. And ask him which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Sorry, just suddenly I imagined like a scenario with a court case talking about like a lawsuit over a toy that emerges from an egg, and then the lawyer's like, but sir, there are many creatures that emerge from eggs. I mean, you can't really copyright that. That's just part of natural evolution.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to give the dragon a name that the crowd comes up with, because that way it's not like something that already exists. It's something that they come up with and they have a interaction with the company. So it's not just me sitting on top of, my little high horse up here saying, I will call this blank. I don't know. But it's me saying, what do you guys want? What do you guys want to call it? What do you guys want to name it? What do you want to
now, in terms of like the names, do you let the audience decide that, or do you have like a few names for them to select from? Because like one thing that comes up to mind is like maybe some people think of this name, but that name is already linked to a different product or a different toy pet.
Yeah, if it's already linked to another toy pet, then I probably wouldn't choose it. But for ideas, because one of the languages I studied was Latin, I can probably pull out names out of Latin that have to do with the different elements for each of the dragons.
Nice. So like not only does it reduce the risk of copyright issues, but it's also artistic in a way that you use like a word that's in a different language but means this thing. That's pretty thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. So like anything with the word umbra means shadow. And it's where the word umbrella comes from, because the umbrella kind of makes a shadow.
Yeah, because the umbrella casts the shadow underneath.
Mm-hmm. So umbra, something with a umbra in the name, or UMBR at all, would be an interesting name for this guy because he represents shadow and mystery. Or he can represent anything you want. That's the joy of toys. Toys can represent what you want. So he could be chaos. He could be anything,
Yeah, that is a valid point. So when you give these toys to people, when you donate to like organizations or groups, do you see how your product affects the customers? Like, do you see like a noticeable change when they have your product in their hands?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. So the job that I have involves the observation of patients for safety reasons. So if you come in with mental health issues and you need to talk to, a therapist or something. We don't have actual psychiatric treatment, but we keep an eye on you until we can send you somewhere that does. And so my job is I sit with the patients. Well, we also have a camera system, and the camera sits in the room and it watches the patient when we can't be there because we don't have enough people. And when I donated the last batch of toys, you could see Child Life, which is the group that brings in the toys, bringing in my toys to each of the rooms after I donated them. And it was kind of nice to see the kids' faces light up, and even the parents were playing with them.
That's nice. So it's not just with the children, but it's also the parents as well. There's always this special feeling when it's like making a product is one thing, whether it be a plushie toy or maybe a YouTube video, but it's another thing when you actually get to see your audience or the people that are attracted to your stuff, when you actually see their reaction to it, it gives you a whole nother feeling of satisfaction to it. Like, it's not just about making the products, it's that people are enjoying the products.
Exactly. And it's not just kids, it's adults too, because we have adults that have autism that come in, and we have adults with dementia that come in. And fidget toys can help people with dementia. And we're working with the elderly, or was it the volunteer group that volunteers with the elderly in the emergency room. So they have, it's like their aging department or aging and elderly department, but they are interested in donations of toys as well. So I donate different kinds of toys for elderly patients, but it would be still something interesting.
Nice. So it's a little something for everybody.
Mhm.
So we're actually getting close to the end of the podcast. Now, for the last question, is there something you would like the audience to take away from this podcast? Like, for those that are listening to this right now, or maybe somewhere down the road, what would you like to tell them?
Well, like I said previously, mental health has a lot of stigmatism with it. And if you feel like you need help, it's okay to ask for help, but also it's okay to be different. And that's why all my dragons, are a different design from everybody else. You got to be different. And it's okay to be different.
Nice. I think that's a really good message to hear. That being different, it's okay. It's be true to yourself, and that that's the best way to stand out. So that's a really great message to have. And I really should focus on getting more sleep because I'm having issues with wording today.
Me too.
Yeah, that are
this morning.
Yeah. But yeah, that is definitely a very important message, that it's okay to be true to yourself. It's okay to be different, that you don't have to like blend in with the rest of the crowd if you don't want to. Just be yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's a very good note to leave this podcast on. Thank you very much for joining me on this podcast, David. And I'll leave a link to your business in the video description down below for those that want to check it out.
All right. And I hope the comments aren't too harsh.
No. The comments on this YouTube channel are generally nice. There's nothing to worry about that. So speaking of comments, what do you think, audience? Do you like this idea, or like, would you like to purchase some of this stuff? Or maybe you want to make some, give some ideas of your own. Let us know in the comment section below. And also feel free to check out his website in the description down below. What was it called again? Tiny Dragons Treasure Trove, right?
Yep.
All right. So check out Tiny Dragons Treasure Trove. They have amazing products like the plush dragon and the fidget ring right here. And this is not even half of the products that are available on the website. So I highly recommend checking it out. So on that note, it's time to end the podcast. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you enjoy what you see, consider commenting, and subscribing to Tostemac to stay up to date in our latest videos. And again, thank you to David Donaldson for being part of this podcast. And until the next one, see you later.